Y'all too smart, can't talk from the heart. I got sauce and it's all for the charts. No aux in the car. Riding around bumping that first blueprint on this. I ain't trying to hear what the info is. I been trying to move on the impulsive tip. Do you want dip? I can tell you ain't having that much fun. 3 years in with your ex-boyfriend, y'all tied that knot, but it's back undone. Oh yeah, I'm trying to stack 1 ton. You ain't gotta ask where that come from. I ain't never rock no pack, son. I was on the pack of the mouse ain't mess. I skip class, no hallway pass. I'm team cap, you was always last. She got good hands and the all state. I got good kids and they all came fast. I ain't gotta say it, you can come to the Ville. Just ask who's hot, they gon' all say Jack. Told me stay down, but I always have. When I come around, man, they always ask, how does it feel? Oh. Ain't shit, tell me it's a walk in the park. Y'all too smart, can't talk from the heart. I got sauce and it's off the charts. Started my night with the light. When I got to the club, I was off for the dark. And I'm on a wave like a dolphin and shark. Y'all took shots, they was off for the mark. Keep it raw from the start.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome in to the season finale of Tigers Tonight. You know, we talk about this all the time, the sport with the longest offseason, college football, especially for those teams that don't get into the playoff. You know, it's December the 20th, and we were done December 20th. But I think everybody is probably ready for the offseason and the Charles Huff era to begin.
Yep.
Let's welcome in our again, we are all Hernando right now. The one and only Brian Moss is in transit from almost heaven, West Virginia, back to his home. And so he will try to join us should cell coverage allow. But Landon Speck, how are you this evening, sir?
Man, I'm doing great. Just watch my Steelers get a win in a game where Kenny Gainwell made maybe the play of the year. So
yeah,
it's been fun to watch him.
If you haven't seen that catch yet, go see it. It's absolutely incredible. The off-season king, the one and only Larry Marley from the palatial Marley Manor here in beautiful Phoenix.
We are 1 week away from our cruise.
We are.
So John and I are celebrating the off-season with an off-season cruise. And no, last week I was afraid when we did our show. I said, I'm really worried about that offense going in because it was a makeshift coaching staff, makeshift offense. Some of the players. I did not know everybody that was not going to be available, but I knew some of them, and it was not going to be pretty, and it was not pretty.
And also with joining us here again, as cell signal allows, from our Northern Bureau, the one and only Brian Moss, who is headed home from West Virginia. Brian, how are you, sir?
Doing pretty good. Just driving on the I-78 in western New Jersey. So yeah, we'll see how the cell phone signal holds up.
All right, so Brian, we'll start with you in case we drop you. I, of course, was sadly unavailable on Friday. Want to get your thoughts on Memphis's 31-7 loss to NC State in the Gasparilla Bowl.
That was pretty pathetic. I mean, when you watch it, I was disappointed in the opt-outs. I guess that's a topic of discussion. You have players that said they're going to play. They fly out, they practice, and then all of a sudden, when it becomes game time, all of a sudden they opt out. So, but overall, I mean, the performance it was just pathetic. I mean, just like the last four games of the season, it was just the effort wasn't there. I mean, but there were individual players who played their heart out, like Brendan Lewis. I mean, that dude's a warrior. But overall, team effort, no, it wasn't there.
Landon,
yeah,
your thoughts?
I was going to say, I absolutely agree. Something we talked about on the last show was how this was going to set up to be a bowl game where both teams, for the most part, had all their guys. It was going to feel like a real game. And obviously that was not the case. When Reggie Howard did media availability before the game, we asked him were there going to be any opt-outs, and he explicitly said no. And we didn't see Sutton Smith out there. We did not see Chris Adams, no Malachi Breland, and then Cortez Braham and Greg DeWosier were out due to injury. And then the Cortez thing, I don't really even know what happened there. But needless to say, there was a lot of faces out on that offense that not a lot of people expected to see. And in turn, Memphis only scored 7 points. Larry's bold prediction of Memphis not scoring 20 points came true. And yeah, it's a pretty rough one to watch.
Way to go, Larry.
Well, and look, I have to be realistic with everybody. Like, I don't want you to go in thinking, okay. I mean, I looked at how the offense. I mean, we all kind of talked about this. Cramsey's been calling plays more or less for the last 3 years, and all of a sudden, that's a big like hole, and and I do agree that Lewis played his heart out overall. I would have, and he deserved to play as long as he wanted, but I would have liked to have seen more of Arrington Maiden, personally, and Hill. But I think they each got a series. Am I wrong? Or two, maybe?
Yeah, AJ threw 7 passes. Arrington only threw 2. So
Yeah,
there's that. Yeah.
yeah. I would have liked to have said, but hey, look, this was, and let's not just focus on offense, because defensively, we didn't play well either, and it wasn't. We didn't have as many opt outs on the defensive side. We had some, but not many. This was a lackluster effort defensively as well.
I hate to sound harsh, but it wasn't very unexpected to me, the defensive piece of it.
Yeah. You take a unit that struggled all year, and
Correct.
you put them in this spot where, frankly, there's no give a damn. I'm sure at this point, not that the coaches aren't professionals and aren't going to do what they're supposed to do, but I'm sure at this point the coaches had kind of realized we're not coming back. The players pick up on that. William Whitlow Jr. said almost as much as that in one of his posts on X after the game, where he said, you're a family, you got the kids, and the CEO takes off, and everybody's just kind of running around. And I think there was some truth to that. This was a game Memphis, go back the last half of the season. Memphis dominates in time of possession, loses the game. They have 149 yards rushing, great balance, 154 through the air, 8 of 17 on third downs, ran 70 plays to 59 plays, 4.1 yards per carry. You're sitting here and you look at these stats, and when you back the sacks out, 4.9 yards per carry. And you go, how does Memphis lose this game 31-7? But the reality was that NC State just jumped out so fast, and kind of, I think fair to say they knew they had Memphis kind of where they want them after those first 2 possessions. And then they kind of just put it on cruise control, and, nothing good. And so, but I guess the best thing about this, guys, is it's over. Nobody got seriously hurt that I can recall. I think the Braham thing happened in practice. I think that's what I heard, that he got hurt in practice. DeWosier, I was stunned if he was going to gut it out. He's needed surgery all year.
Yeah.
And he's trying to get ready for the combine, or the pre-draft combine workout. So that didn't surprise me to not see him. Sutton was a little bit of a surprise and was kind of disappointing, to be perfectly honest. That was a little disappointing, because to Brian's point, don't take the trip, go all the way down there if you know you're not going to play. It was shades of, I'm about to age myself here, D'Angelo Williams going to Tennessee in 2006, where he told Tommy West he wasn't healthy enough to start, but he was healthy enough to play. And Tommy said, well, if you're not going to start, you're not playing. And it was, kind of some bad blood there. And so Mo Avery had to step up. And it wasn't a good situation. And I don't know, what happened, with Sutton or any of these other guys. But you got to think, guys, right, Landon? Somebody got a better deal somewhere. I mean, the reality, or they think they're going to have a deal. So why go out and risk blowing a knee in a 31-7 game?
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's perfectly reasonable to think. It's just a day and age of the sport that we're in. It's unfortunate for the fans, and you can't blame the players, but it just is what it is.
Here's the thing, and this is where it's got to get, and until we get here, this is the reality, right? If you want to keep bowls alive, and I think that, and I genuinely think the networks do, because it's sort of like fast food. It's cheap content for the bowls, right? The bowls are just cheap content for ESPN and Fox and all that. at a time when a lot of people are at home and they're just looking for something to have on the TV. Bowls are that low calorie, like, fast food. But if you want to keep them, you've got to figure out a way to contractually hold the players to playing in the bowl. And I don't know what that looks like, because we all know the NCAA has resisted calling these players employees, and until they get to figure out how they're going to do that, this is what you're going to have, right? Because that's where we're at. See, back in my day, if you didn't play, you didn't get your scholarship the next year. It was that simple, right? Because it was year to year. Like, your scholarship was year to year. But if I wanted to change schools, then I had to sit out a year, right? So it wasn't as simple as it is now. A kid now just says, okay, well, you're going to cut my scholarship, I'll just go somewhere else, right?
We saw kids going in the portal in October, announcing they were going in the portal in October.
Right.
All right. So let's start with Brian. It is you are Professor Moss right now, and each of you are going to be professor here in a minute. Give the overall season grade for Memphis. Brian, we'll start with you.
Oh man, I'll probably have to say D plus. It was to me a complete disappointment from how it started to how it ended. And there was a lot of promise. You finally had a mobile quarterback. The offense was tailored for that, and it didn't deliver. And you had a coach leave. Just the opt out. So overall, yeah, D minus.
Professor Speck.
Yeah, I'll have to go with the D plus. I'm with Brian on this, and when I talk about this season, I think back to the beginning when we knew there was over 70 new players on the team, and when you look down the schedule, it was very possible for you to imagine a 9-3, maybe even 8-4 year, and obviously 8-4 regular seasons is what we got from Memphis. But the disappointment kicks in so much because of how they started up to the UAB game and even past the UAB loss when Memphis goes and beats South Florida. And you're looking up when those first playoff rankings drop in November, and Memphis is in the thing. And then just to watch them end the season the way they did after they performed the way they did through South Florida was very disappointing. And like Brian said, they got a year out of Brendan Lewis that to me was honestly better than I expected. Obviously, he wasn't healthy most of the year. But yeah, it was just really disappointing to watch the way it went down the stretch. And quite honestly, I think if you told Memphis fans before the year you're going to lose to Tulane and you're going to lose to Navy, I don't think that was ridiculous. It was just the fact that they lost to ECU sandwiched in between that, and then they obviously dropped UAB, which was inexcusable.
Yeah, the UAB loss is the one that I will have circled. Professor Marley, your grade?
I'm going to give it a C minus. I'm not going to be quite as because we did beat Arkansas. And we just went 6-0. We did beat USF.
Yeah, the Arkansas game was like if you're going to bump the grade up, that would do it.
Yeah.
Right. And so if you wanted to say C, I'd listen to that. I don't know that I'd agree, but I'd listen to that. But C minus is where I would go with it. Look, my main criticism isn't on the players. I'm going to tell you straight up, and I don't think a hill I'll die on is that week prior to the UAB game, Silverfield begins to he's interviewing, and he realizes that it's very likely, or at least probable, that he's not going to be there anymore. You got to be able to handle that. And that's, look, Silverfield runs a great program. He does. But he didn't handle this very well. And this is ultimately comes down to the coaching staff, because they that team got away from them. The team got away. That locker room got away from them, guys. It did 100%. And however you want to say this, um, the locker room's they've got to build this culture back. That's Huff's, to me, that's his biggest offseason. He's got to rebuild the culture that was lost. I mean, to me.
Yeah, no, I don't think you're wrong. I think in that this was, the first time that in the Silverfield era that the locker room was disconnected the way it was towards the end of the year. And you talk about the coaching staff, especially on the defensive side of the ball. I was, that was about as bad as it could have been, I thought. Obviously, Huff isn't going to retain any of the assistants from the staff this past season. And I thought Hankins at D coordinator, I just didn't think he was good enough. I'm probably not ready to be a defensive coordinator just yet. There was just so many times, to put it briefly, there were so many times on defense where guys were just out of position pre-snap. They were being asked to do something, whether it was a blitz, whether it was an assignment in zone coverage. That was just a tough ask. It was a thing where, what he was trying to do, it would have worked, if he had the best player in the country at every position, but he obviously didn't. So, just didn't like what I saw at all on that side of the ball.
Yeah, I think that side of the ball was a definite struggle all year. I'll give a D. I mean, I'm going to be in the middle of you guys. I think this would not be as bad, and I think Landon, you touched on this. If you don't start 6-0, if you start 4-2, 5-1, you're happy to get to 8-4. But when you start 6-0 and you drop 4 of your last 6, I mean that's tough to swallow. And not just that, but the manner in which you lost the last couple games. And
Right.
it finally came out, that we know what happened the week before the UAB game now, and you can see the definite shift in focus, and that's just too bad for the kids. So I was looking back, scoring defense this year. To your point, Landon, we were down. Let's see, where were we? 53 in the country. I think that was actually an improvement over last
I'm about to
year.
say the raw numbers don't look as bad as you may think.
Yeah.
But they're deceiving. I think the problem with the defense for me was when they weren't forcing turnovers, it just wasn't a good unit. And they got very fortunate in the turnover department in multiple games. And it just kind of bailed them out.
Yeah, didn't Noah say that too about NC State? He's like, if we're not forcing turnovers, or not Noah, but gosh, these games all run together. Somebody said if we're not forcing turnovers, we struggle.
Yeah.
But here's the truth, guys. Like in college, you have to play because to Landis, you don't have the best players at every spot. The thing that you have to do in college, at least to me, is you got to figure out, okay, who are my strong players, and then build your defense around them so that you can sort of, all right, I've got a good cover guy, so I can sort of shift our focus. We had 2 good outside corners, so we knew that we could rely on the outside and we focused more on the inside. Right? So we played a little more man outside and zone underneath. The problem Memphis had was we never seemed to focus in on, all right, because we did have some good players, right? But he wanted to shoehorn everybody into the same sort of setup. And that's not how you have to do it in college. In college, you have to literally look at it and go, okay, I've got an athlete that's probably better on this side, is better on this side of the ball than he is on that side. I got on that side of the ball. So we're going to help that guy and leave him more on his own. And that's how college has to be. The NFL, obviously, everybody's great everywhere, right? But here you have to be more creative. Is that maybe that's the term?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Just putting the guys in positions. I think a big problem with Memphis's defense was I think the linebackers were asked to do a whole lot in the coverage department. They played
And
Memphis.
they're not.
Yeah,
Nope.
Hankins. No, right. That's not Brumfield, Russaw, and Drew Watts. They were, very solid tacklers. I thought they were fine in the run game, but
they cannot cover me.
No. Yeah, Hankins plays a ton of cover 3, and when you're in cover 3 as a linebacker, you're responsible for that intermediate middle of the field. Where, as we know, Memphis just got torched, it's just they weren't getting enough depth in their zone drops and carrying guys up the seams, and so it puts way too much stress on whoever that single high safety was. Which a lot of times was Kamari Wilson.
Which he did a great job. I mean,
right? Yeah,
tackles. But when you're when your safety is one of your leading tacklers,
It's
that's
bad.
indicative of large
Yeah.
problems. And
Yep.
I think the most frustrating thing for me defensively, guys, was I'll just shorten it, SSDD, same shit, different day.
Yeah.
Like it seemed like the same mistakes happened over and over and over again. Now
Right.
let's flip over to the offensive side of the ball, and it's the same deal. The same mistakes plague Memphis all year.
Yes.
I think I counted up. I think there were 43 false starts this year by Memphis, of which over half were in the last half of the
I was
season.
about to say,
And
it's the critical moments.
that's unacceptable. That's just, I'm sorry. I can't put it, it's unacceptable. And you can't continue down that path and expect different things to happen. And I think there was a team that came out of a time, or it happened to Memphis. They came out of a timeout or a quarter break and had 12 guys on the field in the bowl game. Come on, guys, what are you doing? You know, these sorts of things, week 1, week 2, it happens. Especially how many times did we hear 78 new players? You're gonna have some of those timing mistakes, but then the thing that I look at is the guys making the false starts have been here. It's not like these were new guys. So there was a lot of lack of attention to detail on Memphis's part. So let's do this. Let's give the offense a grade. And Landon, we'll start with you. Give the offensive grade and pick your most valuable player.
I'll go with a B for the offense, with the MVP being Cortez Braham. Memphis went 8-5, and I think you could argue they would have lost another game or two without that guy. I was just gonna kind of rattle off. There have been some cool development stories on that side. I think with Jamari Hawkins, I thought had a solid season, and I thought Matt Adcock, who announced his intentions to enter the portal today, provided a lot of value as a blocker, and that was good to see. But yeah, overall, Cortez late off season, literally like as late as it could possibly be, portal edition. He's got to be my MVP.
Larry?
Oh, I'm going to give it a C. And as far as my MVP, it's Lewis. He gutted it out, and he played in games he probably shouldn't have played in. I look, you got to give the guy credit. I was frustrated, most frustrated by the pre-snap penalties. That's the defense's best friend is a pre-snap penalty. It just is. If you can walk up and they hurt themselves, you're back there going, oof, okay. We went from 3rd and 3 to 3rd and 8. I mean, you cannot. That's immeasurable, right? So if we can be more disciplined and cut back on that next year alone, I mean, and everything else being equal, which who knows if it will be, you will see a much better offense. But I can't do more than a C this year.
I'm going to go B- because I think I agree with Landon. We saw some stretches through there, big plays at big times. I'm torn on the MVP. I'm going to split the vote and say Graham and Lewis are 1A and 1B because, if Cortez, if they would allow him to move that south end zone right corner into the NFL, he would be an all-pro NFL receiver. He loved that spot and made big plays, and he made plays when Memphis needed them. But I put a lot of the failures on the coaching staff. And how in the hell you don't have Sutton Smith and Greg DeWossier in the game at the same time is criminal. And how you don't have a package for one of your two quarterbacks of the future when your starter is hurt and banged up and injured and all those things. He probably played 4 games he had no business playing, but you don't give Maiden any time. You don't give Hill any time until the UAB game when you ask somebody, hey, I know you haven't played all year, but come in and drive us down the field and get us a touchdown. So a lot of the C grade, I think, goes to the coaching staff, and we'll never know. I mean, we'll never know the reasons why those decisions were made, and people will speculate, whatever. I mean, that's fine, but just hard to swallow all around. All right, let's move back to the other side of the ball. And Larry, you're going to be kinder than Landon. So let's start with your grade on defense and your MVP.
Well, my grade's probably going to be a C plus or C. I thought so William Whitlow is my MVP. That guy, we talked about it earlier in the year. He took on double teams. He's really more of an edge guy anyway, and he was playing in the middle of the line. I thought, and I mean, if you want to say Kamari Wilson, I can listen, but I'm going to go with Whitlow. I just thought he took on double teams all year, was very effective at stopping the ball. Yeah, it was same shit, different day with those guys, and I get it, but given if you want to give the coaching staff a D, I'll listen. But the players, they really went out there and they tried their best to play the scheme that they were asked to play.
Yeah, that's where I'm at with it as well. And unfortunately for the players with this grade, I have to tie in the coaching. So with that, I got to give it a D minus. And I will say the only thing that's keeping me from putting it in that F plus category is that they were so good at forcing turnovers, and there is something to be said for that. I know I commented on it earlier. Maybe sounded like I was trying to downplay it. That's not what I was trying to do at all. It's just one of those things you can't rely on year over year. But they had a great year with turnovers especially the Arkansas game. I mean, Bracey punching that ball out. Just an unbelievable play that he himself made all season. And then for my MVP, I'm gonna have to copy Larry and go with Witt. It's one of those things. If you look at the numbers, Sam Brumfield pops, and he's definitely a guy you could consider for it. But Whitlow's just one of those dudes you just got to watch because, like Larry said, they had him playing out of position all year from where he would play best. But it was sacrificed for the betterment of the team just because they needed him to do it. And he took on double teams. He was great in the run game with his quickness. And he's, we knew it going into the year, and it's pretty evident he was the best player in that unit. And we kind of hit on it earlier. The surface level numbers, if you just go look up, total defense or scoring defense or whatever it was, aren't as bad. But I think South Florida and Tulane, Arkansas, even other than the turnovers, which saved them in that game, they all put up big numbers on them. And they were living in the danger zone all year, I thought.
Yeah, they were on edge all year. Mine is I'm going to go D, but mine is Kamari Wilson. He had 84 total tackles. Sam Brumfield had 113 tackles this year.
Yeah, he was unbelievable, especially in the second half of the season.
And it was quiet. Yeah. It was quiet. You looked up and you're like, when did he get his 14th tackle? When did that happen? But Wilson is mine because in addition to that, he had two big interceptions. He broke up 4 passes. Had 2 forced fumbles, recovered 1. So he I love that position he plays too. That star, I forget what Memphis
Monster.
Tiger. They call it Tiger
or whatever it is. It's a position that guys love to play because it kind of gets them involved in all aspects of the game. Larry, you don't have to vote on this one. Landon, special teams.
Special teams. Honestly, I'd probably have to give it A minus. I thought it was pretty good. I know Spedick missed some kicks, but he was really good with the long ones. And Sutton Smith had a return touchdown. And honestly, in a year where you can get 1 return touchdown, I mean, that's a pretty dang good special teams year. And they didn't have very many penalties that I can remember on that side.
And was excellent.
Yeah, when they needed it.
I'll give it a C. I thought. Of course, the kickers. Jesus Christ! How do you kick a 52-yarder and miss a 32-yarder?
That's fair. I'll give you that. Yeah.
But those guys are so odd. Like anyway, I don't want to.
Here we go.
Like how do you? But I thought the punting. Look, I thought the punting team was very efficient this year. We didn't really give up any long returns. Didn't have a lot of penalties. On that side of the ball, if you can, especially punting, if you can just you're giving the ball back to them, don't give up anything. Don't give up a penalty. Try not to give a long return, anything like that. And we didn't do that all year. So overall, I thought special teams I can't think of a single time when they really hurt us this year.
I think Jeb just hit the nail on the head. Special teams never hurt, but they never really helped either. They didn't turn a game. And, I go B. I think, B is, for me in this era, I don't want special teams to hurt you. If they help you, great. But I just don't want to be hurt by special teams. And that's,
do your job. Do your job.
do your job.
Make the field goals you're supposed to make. If you kick a 53 or 54 yarder, congratulations. But make a 32 yarder, damn it. I'm sorry.
So let's move on to the off season. Let's see. We're going to start with a different one here. Let me share. I'm having to figure this out on the fly. All right. So we're going to start. Let's start. Of course, Memphis hired its 26th head football coach when they hired Charles Huff. And some of the staff, or a lot of the staff, is actually together at this point. Let me see if I can do it. Nope, wrong one.
Nope, not that one.
Yeah, not that one. Definitely don't want that one. Nope, don't want that one either.
Don't want that one.
Not work. Anyway,
do not click on me. No, but so here's the question. Oh, there you go. You got it. So Decker comes in. Oklahoma's field goal kicker. Yes, Jeb. Yes, make a 32 yarder. But you bring in ODU's offensive coordinator. You brought up the defense coordinator from Southern Miss, who I saw. I thought he did a really good job this year overall. But so my question is with Decker, like we saw ODU all year. I saw him several times. I mean, are we excited about this?
absolutely.
Yeah, I think so.
And I think the reason I'm excited is, do you know where Kevin Decker, before he went to Fordham and turned on that offense, whose offense he watched? Josh Heupel's. So you know what that means? They're going to play fast. And they're not going to do a bunch of the check with me stuff. They're going to go out and he's going to empower his quarterback, whomever that may be, to make decisions at the line and run plays. I think Memphis is at their best when they are running 75 to 85 plays a game. When they are tempo, go. Quit all this look at me, sugar huddle, just go and play. Memphis is historically, that's when they've been at their best. I'm pretty excited about Decker's hire. You look back at the numbers, and between Fordham and ODU, he brought ODU up. I think I put it in my article, from the bottom all the way up towards the top of the league.
Right.
And Jeb, I get that sentiment about Cramsey, and I think this was a case that change of scenery is probably good for everybody involved.
But now, for those who don't know, Decker plays quarterback under Tim Cramsey at Delaware.
No, New Hampshire.
I'm sorry, New Hampshire. Apologize.
Yep. Yeah. And
all right, it's one of those northeastern places that I don't ever go to. But sorry. But anyway, he played quarterback under Tim Cramsey. And Cramsey was the OC, not the head coach, but OC. I believe was he quarterback coach?
No, he was
OC.
So he was running back coach Decker's first year, and then became the OC and quarterback coach.
Right.
Decker only played 1 year, and that was in 2011.
Not to scare anybody.
Well, I just think it's going to be a whole fresh set of eyes, and Landon, somebody's played the position. You know that the relationship between your coach and your quarterback, right? That's everything. And
it's everything. It's so important.
So you saw Cramsey was at his best with Seth, and then when Seth left, we floundered a bit this year because there wasn't that. They hadn't built that. He and B. Lou hadn't built that strong relationship, and that doesn't mean that Cramsey's not a good coach, and it doesn't mean that B. Lou was a bad quarterback. But that position is one of those things that you've got to have some kind of a relationship.
I'll tell you, I'm sorry to cut you off. I didn't mean to, but I could ramble on this for days. But quarterback is one of those things in sports. I don't think fans quite have the grasp on how much time is required into that position at both the college and the NFL level, as far as development and just learning. And I can't emphasize this enough. Quarterback is insanely hard. I think it's the hardest position in all of sports. It is insanely hard, and that I mean, yeah, Seth and Cramsey being together for 4 years, it can be overstated how big that was for both of them. And I think we've heard a lot about the Seth piece of that, him being the 4-year guy and putting up the numbers he did. But I can only imagine that also helped Cramsey into that year 3 and year 4 with Seth, having that continuity. And I mean, this is kind of a different subject, but Old Dominion's quarterbacks in the portal. We'll see what happens with that. But I mean, you can only imagine how. Yeah, you can only imagine how beneficial that would be. And I want to preface this too. I haven't watched a down of Old Dominion football. Shame on me. But I plan to change that this week. I want to get into it a little bit. I'm excited to see what it is. And from the hype, I have dove in a lot into the Heupel offense because Jerry Mack ran it at Kennesaw, and then Golish, who just left South Florida, ran the same thing there. And I think there is a lot to be excited about with that. And they do empower the quarterback. So I think that would be exciting, in the scenario that Memphis gets a tandem from Old Dominion.
Yeah, and it's attractive to a quarterback, even if it ends up not being Colton Joseph. It's attractive to the quarterback to say, "Here you go, it's yours. Here's the ball. This is your team, not our team." Yeah, but I mean, the reality. Here's the harsh reality, and I get where people are coming from with this. And I said something to somebody else today about a different subject. They said, "Oh, well, we're going to lose 8 games next year because of all these." It is what it is, and everybody's dealing with the same parameters outside of the very top. So it's up to everybody to adjust. I don't like it.
Look, everybody has portal people. Like, I don't care. Georgia is going to lose players to the portal. Where this is hitting the teams like Alabama and Georgia is not the top 11. It's that next 11 that are going to schools like Oklahoma State or maybe some of them come to Memphis or whatever. But they're looking at it going, man, I'm not going to play for 2 years. I'm going to go back down and I can play. And so all the schools are getting hurt. It's just how it's getting hurt in a different way.
Exactly.
And that's so the thing you gotta look at is, all right, we're probably never going to have another 4-year starter at quarterback. That's never's a long time, but it's going to be a long time before that happens again. So what you got to do is try to figure out how you can at least get some continuity, not just in that position. Like, you got to go for a 2 or 3 year at most prospect, right? Because that's what you're looking at. And everybody's that way. I mean, everybody is. So, I mean, like Arch Manning's not going to be at Texas after next year. So 3 years, and John's having cat fights. It's a cat. It's John's cat house is on full display. But anyway, it's a look, guys. This is going to be something that forget just the quarterback position, because every position you're going to have to look at as how are we going to build depth there. Because I think that's where you got to have to. You know what I mean?
Think that's where the development piece comes in. Is especially at your skill positions and some of your key line positions, you're renting talent, but you've got to have depth. If B. Lou goes down and sprains his ankle and is out for 4 weeks, you've got to have Trent, and I'm just using him for example. He's the first one. You got to have Trent Dilfer that can come off the bench and tide you through a couple game stretch. You've got to have that backup guy that he's not going to go out and win you games, but you just don't want him going out and losing you games.
Losing you a game, right?
Offensive line, defensive back, whatever it is, that's your struggle, is how do you balance starters with NIL money and building depth? How do you balance that? That's why I have said that the most critical position on this staff is Corey Phillips and Reed Grable. That's it, because those are your GM and assistant GM. All right, this is an interesting question. So how does Memphis come out of this offseason better than Tulane and USF do? All 3 teams are in roughly the same shape. Well, I think that starts with We got to wait.
Well, here's an interesting question because Jeb asked it. So let's ask this question. Memphis hired a sitting head coach, okay, at Southern Miss, and with a track record, a winning track record. USF hired Brian Hartline, who everybody feels is going to be a great head coach. Everybody thinks he's going to be awesome, but he's never been a head coach. And Tulane hired former head coach who did not fare very well at Southern Miss, but now is, coming into obviously a better situation. Who hired the best coach?
Memphis.
Because I think you can't, and this is what I was trying to express to people when everybody wanted the quote hot young offensive coordinator. That worked in 2019. I just think college football is different. And if you have a chance now to go out and get someone who has run a program, like let's not even talk about just being the coach on Saturday, who has run a program in this new era. Think about it. Charles Huff went from Marshall to Southern Miss. He brought 37 players with him. There's gonna be some kids from Southern that come to Memphis. There's no secret. There's gonna be kids from everywhere. So I think if you know how the game is played already, this is why I think Ryan is going to be more successful at Arkansas than people currently think he will.
Correct.
He knows how to play the game. And I don't mean on the field on Saturdays. That's where he struggles. But I mean behind closed doors. He knows how
the other 9 months out of the year, Ryan is undefeated. And he's the best head coach we've ever had as far as that other 9 months. And you can look, you could throw stones at me all day. I'm right.
But I think that is why Memphis, Landon, I think that's probably where you're coming from too. You hire a guy who you're not asking somebody to go from being a waiter to being a chef, or go from being a sous chef to running a restaurant. Charles Huff is a chef.
Yep.
He's cooked the meals
Agreed.
before.
I agree with you guys. I just was curious if everybody else felt the same way I did.
Yeah, I get the excitement behind Heartline. There is a lot of upside there. You can't deny it. And I think a lot of people have seen what Oregon's done with Dan Lanning, hiring him from the coordinator ranks at Georgia. And I do get it. But I think just in the spot Memphis was in, they couldn't afford to hire a guy with upside that wasn't a sure thing, and then that guy fails. You couldn't afford that. It's too pivotal of a time within the conference, within the program, a lot of factors. And so with that, I mean, I thought Huff's resume, when you stack it up compared to South Florida and Tulane, back to the original question, I mean, it's just a slam dunk.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Memphis comes out of this a little better now. I think USF is going to struggle with life after Brown. Tulane is going to struggle with life after Jake Retzlaff and John Summerall.
Sure, yeah.
And I pegged ECU as my kind of way too early favorite. They lost their offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, and quarterback in the stretch of about a week and a half. That's going to be tough.
Their coordinators were great too. I like both their coordinators. Yeah,
and that's what I tell people. Like, if Tim Cramsey gets hired away by Penn State a couple years ago, that's the best thing for everybody, because that means he's done a good enough job at Memphis that he can move up and get a better job.
It makes the program more attractive when that stuff like that happens. Yeah,
because when Rip Shear got hired, people told him this is where coaching careers came to die, and they were, for the most part, they were right. I mean, Rip made a career for himself after this, but you weren't a head coach at Memphis. You never came back to be a head coach anywhere else. You're a coordinator. You go to the NFL. You're a quarterback coach. You become assistant AD at UCLA. You didn't recover from your time at Memphis. So I don't know. I think if you have the chance in this day and age to hire sitting head coaches, that's what you have to do. And you can't just look at it and go, well, he only went 7-5 at Southern Miss last year. Well, they went 1-11 the year before that.
It was a train wreck. Which, by the way, Tulane's new head coach wrecked the train.
Yeah.
It was Hall and
Well,
him.
yeah, he
They were
was.
they were a
I
decent
was there.
program
He was
before
the
Will Hall.
conductor of that damn train. I
Yes.
saw that thing.
Yep.
I mean, Casey Jones couldn't have steered that
Yeah.
thing in the right direction.
I was pretty locked into it as well. I had a high school teammate start at quarterback for them as a true freshman, 9 games in 2022.
Oh,
So
I didn't know you were on that Hernando team.
yeah, it was a
When did
backup.
you graduate from Hernando?
23.
So you
So
were
Landon's
you were
like,
a
good
year
job,
after
guys.
my daughter.
Good job.
But
Backup
anyway,
quarterback, most popular guy on the team. So I think Memphis comes out ahead. I mean, we'll see. But you've got a coach that has experience running a program, and I think that was critical. And not to rehash all that, but if you wanted to hire Dan Mullen, there was risk there. There's risk with Charles. Look, we said this a couple weeks ago. Everybody got warts at the G5 level. There's risk all around, but I think this was the safest hire, but not from the perspective of we didn't swing for a fence and we just went and got a guy that we thought could, keep Memphis at 8-4, 9-3. Memphis went and got a guy that they thinks can take 9-3 and make it 11-1, 10-2, 12-0. And that's what you do. All right. So on to the portal. So this is as of right now, and I haven't been on Twitter for a couple hours, so who knows? And we said this last week that once the bowl game ended, you would start seeing it. And it actually took till today. So you've had Chris Bracey, Kamari Wilson, Everett Rousseau, Matt Adcock, Christian Ross, AJ Hill, and Arrington Maiden, who is still technically undecided. So I don't know what he's going to do. But there have been, guys, can we agree there have been no surprises from what the staff told privately? Nobody
other than AJ Hill, who I was told was going to come back, but then apparently got a better offer.
Who's the biggest flaw? Who's the biggest flaw on that list?
Wilson?
Just for pure production, it's Wilson. Maybe into the future, I think a lot of people would say AJ, but that can get murky as far as the scheme fit goes. So,
yeah, I think it's Wilson. And I said this last week. Don't be surprised when Memphis has to replace. Brian said he thinks it'll be anywhere upper 60s, low 70s. What will be more, the high on Christmas Day in Memphis, or the number of new players Memphis has next season when we kick off? So it's going to continue. I guess at this point, I expect Sutton Smith to be on that list.
I mean, he and Malachi Breland each have eligibility left and didn't play in the bowl game.
I mean,
so you can take that for what it's worth.
I'm a tea leaf kind of guy, and that just tells me, maybe those two guys. And here's the thing that will end up, there will be one that will surprise everyone. What was the kid like 2 or 3 years, Cameron Jackson, that ended up going to Florida and taking
right,
like a backup, like he didn't play very much. So there's going to be one of those. Last year it was Darian Mensah, the quarterback from Tulane. They got $2.5 million to go to Duke and be the same dude. But there's going to be a surprise. But so far there have been no surprises. And I told everybody when the season, the coaching staff changed. Yeah, Darrell Henderson did sit out of 3 bowl games. So, I mean, nobody knows. Sutton hasn't said anything. He's gone radio silent. His representation's not talking, but who knows? But if I'm sure the coaching staff has some idea. And just because guys say they're going in the portal now, they don't go in until January 2nd. So, unlikely, but these things can change. Guys can have their minds swayed by certain things.
They can have it swayed by their former school even while they're in the portal too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, it's nothing
when it officially opens.
Nothing concrete until they ink with another school.
Until they're sitting in that classroom in January. Well, sitting in the classroom, but on campus. Yeah.
We ain't here to play school. But until they run out on the field at the last week, August 1st, September, that's when you start counting on guys. But so we don't know what's going to happen with guys like Sutton and Breland. they go elsewhere, sure. I've had people tell me, well, Sutton's going to Arkansas. I don't see that personally because I don't feel like Ramsey and Coach Silverfield ever really used Sutton to his potential this
Yeah.
year.
Absolutely not.
That's why I don't think AJ Hill's going to go there. If wherever he goes, I don't think it'll be there. Could be wrong. This could be some sort of grand plan all along. I doubt that, but things are what
I
they
don't
are.
think either of those two guys are that. Anyway, I don't think they're smart enough to have that much, But anyway.
All right. So finally, let's see, portal needs. So basically, this started with OL, DL, and wide receiver. But now I think pretty much every position you do need offensive and defensive line. I think Landon, you said what, evergreen on the defensive line?
Those top two, every team in America that's at the top of their portal list. Let's just be honest with ourselves.
Sure.
Now the quality and the quantity of it, yeah, that changes for every team. But in some capacity, every team's looking for O-line, D-line.
That fits because used to you could just go get big old dudes. I want the biggest dudes I can find. Give me the 6'7", 300 pounds. Well, if you're running spread and you're asking guys to zone block, you can't do that. You got to have mobile guys. You got to have guys that can get out and run a little bit if you're run a screen game. But yeah, I put quarterback on here personally because I still think Maiden's leaving. AJ Hill's leaving, Maiden's leaving. Somebody else left. I think the other two quarterbacks on the roster left. So you have
Ty Collins.
Yeah, you have no doubt at quarterback, and you got to go get one. Even if Maiden says, you know what, I'll stay. You got to go get somebody.
Yeah, it's a numbers thing.
It's you need.
You got to have at least 3 and maybe 4 players that not just to have a body, but you got to have somebody you look at and go, okay, if I have to, I can actually put that person in the game and they're not going to look like they don't belong. Right? I mean, they may not play great, but they're who was the kid that back when, and I know Jeb's going to know it. He was about 5'5" and played the little white kid that played quarterback for Memphis.
Billy Bearfield?
Bearfield, thank you.
How about that? My favorite Billy Bearfield memory is the block on that D'Angelo Williams run against UTEP, which is the best run I've ever seen in person.
That's a great run.
That was a great run. And Bearfield just cleaned that poor UTEP defensive back out. Like, that guy had no shot. But anyway, yep, Bearfield. How about that? Woo, got one right.
Good job.
So we added quarterback, wide receiver, defensive back. These are all, and I want to say something too. I've noticed that his name is just the way is just Jeb, stop it. Is just this thing going on where the kid from West Florida is visiting next weekend, January 3rd, I think. Division II, West Florida.
Yeah, Marcus Stokes, that's his name.
Marcus Stokes. Everybody, we go from Seth Hennigan and Brendan Lewis to a D2 guy. Trinidad Chambliss is playing in a second-round playoff game in the next few days. I'm just saying. And you are in an era where if you can play, people are going to find you. And it's not like they're going out and trying to get a guy that, completed 54% of his passes and, threw for 180 yards a game. Like, this dude's a baller. He can flat out play. And who was the kid? Larry, are you who texted? The kid that left West Florida and then went to Western Kentucky, quarterback, and went up there and he tore it up in Tyson Elton's system. So
yeah, I can't remember, but yes,
you can't go, oh, that guy's Division II, so he can't play at Memphis. It's about the right guy, right? Like, and you are also, I don't think this has changed in recruiting. Brian's not with us, but I don't think this has changed. You got to have plan B. If Memphis is going after Colton Joseph, and I'm making this up, Mississippi State offers him more, and he goes to Mississippi State, you don't want to be there with your pants down and not have a quarterback coming into spring. So don't let I tell people, don't let these offers, don't let, oh, that guy only played XYZ last year. Too many great stories of, guys that were down here and, worked their way up and made it. So, just watch the portal this year with that. And because, Landon, you said it best too, like, especially up front on both sides of the ball, there's only so many dudes. And every
Yeah.
team in America, 130, there's 136. So I guess 132 want more offensive linemen and defensive linemen that can play.
Yep. I hate to break it to some people, but Memphis ain't first in line either.
Nope.
No.
And that's not, people take that as a, being whatever, and it's not. It's just it's factual from a money standpoint, from an exposure standpoint, from a prestige standpoint. Memphis is not going to be at the front of the line. So you have to, at Memphis, really, you can't miss. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't go get DJU. You can't afford that at Memphis, what Florida State went through. It's wrecked their program. And Mike missed on one guy. He missed on his quarterback. And you can't do that at Memphis. You have to hit the portal, man. You've got to be a hit 98% of the time. So these are the portal needs. And, like I said, I added quarterback because I feel like Memphis is going to need one. And after today, when you lose Kamari Wilson and Chris Bracey, I think you're going to need defensive backs. I just think that, it's tough to have to do this again, but I think, guys, we're just, Landon, we're just in a spot where we're going to have to replace a whole bunch of guys, and we got to rely on talent evaluation from a group that we don't know.
It sucks, but I want to iterate this. Just because you lose good players doesn't mean you can't replace them with other good players, and they're out there. But like you said, it's up to the staff to find them, and we'll see. We don't know. We'll just have to let it play out.
And I always said prior to this that one of the most overrated things in football was returning. Well, they have 8 guys on their defense returning. Well, their defense was 121st in the country last year. I probably don't want those same 8 guys coming back. I need some new guys because those guys were terrible.
The days of going from a freshman, sophomore, junior, and then all of a sudden, because I used to say the biggest jump you'd ever see in a player was from freshman to sophomore year. If they didn't make that jump, they were never going to make it, right? That's just the truth. Those days are gone where you can look at a guy and go, well, last year we had mostly sophomores and we didn't play very well. Next year we should be better because we're juniors. Those days are gone. That doesn't happen anymore. You have to look at it and go, okay, what have I got right now? Because every year you're just it's not going to be you build up to a bunch of seniors. Every year you got to go get a new team. And you can fill in the gaps, all right, but with guys that you recruit. But more or less, like, you're just going to have to build a whole new team. I mean, you may not go get 22 new starters. You probably aren't going to do that. But on your top 24, 44 rather, or top 44, you're probably going to be filling 25 of those. That's just facts. That is 2026 college football.
All right. Put you guys on the spot.
Oh boy.
Schedule. You probably have no idea.
Nope.
I'm going to ask you right now. If I said Memphis was going to win 8 or more games next year, go on the record. Would you take the over? We'll set it. We'll set the over under. We'll set the total 8.5.
I'm gonna take under.
Yeah, if you're gonna put me on the spot right now, I'll take the under, and I mean the under by 7 or 8.
Yep, that's what
if I'm gonna put an exact number on it.
All right, hang on. Let me pull up the schedule here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I put myself on the spot. I didn't have myself ready to go. So you've got you open the season. Good grief!
Didn't
Come
we
on,
find out we were opening with Arkansas State?
we are opening with Arkansas State, and that's September 5th, and then Boise is September 12th. Now, in all of this, Memphis needs another game because the Arkansas game got pushed. So Memphis needs another game. You're at home. You have Arkansas State, UT Martin, UAB, Army, East Carolina, Temple. Those are your home games. Is that everybody? Arkansas State, UT Martin, UAB, Army,
That's
East
five,
Carolina,
right? Did I
Temple.
count that right? 5 or 6?
Six.
Six.
All right, so
So
6. I'll take 5 and 1.
okay, at home. Okay. So and on the road, you are at Boise, at Charlotte, at Navy, at Tulane, and at USF, and you're going to have another most likely road game in there. I think
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
going to
gonna go with 8. I'm
Yeah.
confident by 8.
Yeah.
I'm going to take the under. I just
Yep.
think that's going to be a big well, but it's also hard right now too to say,
We don't know
oh,
who's going to be on the team.
we don't know who's going to be on team, and you don't know because what did we talk about this year? The order of the games was so important this year because this schedule was so backloaded. And once you slip up at UAB, now you've got USF staring down your barrel. You got Tulane, you've got Navy, you've got all your big games.
Yeah.
So it's going to depend on how they're balanced out.
Yeah, but all of those being on the road is pretty brutal. I think they got unfortunate with the home schedule this past season, and it's completely flipped this season.
I mean, yeah, I look and I think Memphis will beat Arkansas State. I'm very confident about UT Martin. I'm pretty confident about Charlotte. I'm confident with UAB. That's it. I'm confident with 4 or 5, and after that, who knows? But
who's
we
the
are
third
still
non-conference game other than UT Martin and Arkansas State?
That's what we're waiting for. We don't have it.
I
Is it?
like our chances against Army at home.
You've got Arkansas State. You're at Boise, UT Martin, and the Arkansas game is what got
Boise.
dropped.
Boise was the other one. Okay.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
you're. So where does that?
But guys, like, look, and I know we're way, way, way early. I get it, but here's the thing: like, if we go 8-4 next year, which I think is reasonable, completely reasonable. How do the fans take 8-4?
I think it has to be the right 8 and the right 4. I mean, you can't lose to UAB.
That's an interesting
Yeah.
take on it because Ryan
Yeah.
never won the right games, right?
Yeah.
You can't lose to UAB. You can't lose to Temple, although Temple's going to be much better. You can't lose at Charlotte. Like those are the games you can't have those sorts of. You can't crap the bed in those spots, and that's going to be what the key is. All right, so this is it for this season. It's hard to believe that we started this
Unbelievable.
August the
How did we get here?
22nd, I think, was the first week we did the show. And here we are. It is mid-December, and we're done. And we don't know what the future holds for the winter and the spring just yet. Of course, spring ball will be here before we know it. But we're going to have some cool stuff. I think, Lana and I have been kicking back some ideas about stuff we can do. And we're going to bring back the Why I Coach again this year, because that's one of my favorite things that we do. Hopefully
awesome.
have some of the new faces at the U of M that will, tell us why they do what they do, whether that be football, basketball, baseball, doesn't matter. We love to talk to all the coaches and learn more about them. So I want to thank Landon for kind of jumping in whenever we needed him here. He's been a top flight addition to our team. The other guy that we had that was top flight kind of abandoned us. He got all famous and then went to the Daily to the Daily Memphian, and now he's the executive editor.
Executive editor. He's top dog of all the students in the Meme and Journalism building.
Landon, I'm sorry.
I'm not a part of the Helmsman. I wish Sam great luck, and that's one of my best friends. I'm not gonna take orders from him.
I'm just picking.
That's my guy.
That's all right.
I'm not taking orders from him.
Not
He's
taking
like,
orders
"Yeah,
from
but-"
Sam Shoemaker.
So, but again, we do appreciate you, and we of course appreciate Brian, who couldn't be here tonight, and Larry. It's we love doing this. This is why we do it. We don't make $1 million, but it's a great time. And again, Landon, thanks so much for jumping on the grenade. And we're going to have content. It's not like
Right.
the site's going to be dead. But I do want to mention, if you haven't joined and you want to join, the coolest thing to me about the On3 platform is that you get access to all the other schools. So you can't post on their message boards, but you can read all the stuff from all the
Yeah.
other schools, transfer portal, so on and so forth.
There's so much good stuff. And I want to add too, On3 in the last year, 2025, even before I was on staff here, my family and I, we shared a subscription, and they've built the Avengers of a national reporting crew with
100.
Chris Lowe, Brett McMurphy, Pete Nakos. They're so good at what they do, and they give so much info. And honestly, this time of year, I'd rather have the subscription right now than during the season with the portal coming up. There's no better spot to get information on transfer portal. So this is the best time to sign up.
All right. One thing I forgot, that this is sort of our tradition that we do every year. Tuesday is the real holiday. Tuesday is Festivus.
Yep.
So I want to give each of you the floor for an airing of grievances of your choice in kind of a pre-Festivus moment. And it can be Memphis, it can be college football in general. I'll start to give you guys a minute.
No, I'm already ready, but go ahead.
This notion that, and I don't want to get in college football playoff and all that, but this notion that was put out by a couple of reporters this week that there was this memorandum of understanding from 2024 that Notre Dame, if they were in the top 12 and something else changed where the group of 5 couldn't get 2 teams, the notion that that was put out in 2024, and to what you just said, Landon, all these great reporters running around, the notion that everybody sat on that for a year is complete and total bull. I'm sorry. I'm not buying it. I don't care who's selling it to me. I don't care if it's Ross. I don't care if it's Dan Wolken. I don't care if it's Stuart Mandel. I don't care. I don't believe it. I'm just not going to buy it. And I wrote an article that deals with the rest of my airing of grievances. It's time for the elite to just go away. We're tired. Go away. Larry, you're up.
Well, first and foremost, I am tired of the people telling us that the G5 do not belong in anything. I've posted on Twitter a couple of times, people whining and complaining, Notre Dame fans or Texas fans whining and complaining. Let me tell you something. You took the guaranteed money. You took the money from the SEC. You took the money from the Big 10. You took the money from the Big 12. And in doing so, you risked losing games. That's the risk, okay? When you play those games and you take that money, the guaranteed money, you're risking losing games. You lost the games, okay? Take your money and shut the hell up.
Well, I had this opinion about the playoff when they first announced the 12-team expansion. I don't think they ever should have expanded. And the reason they did is because of money, as that's the reasoning for most things. ESPN and the TV networks obviously get more money for airing more games that a lot of people watch. But I thought it was fine at 4. If they want to expand to 8, that's cool. I understand that with the 4-team model, we had the 2023 Alabama-Florida State debacle. That was bad. That's fine. But if it's 12 teams, we're going to be arguing about Alabama, Miami, Notre Dame, like we did this season. If they expanded it to 16, there's going to be people mad that whoever's ranked 17 didn't get 16. If we expanded it to 68, whoever's ranked 69th is going to be mad that they didn't get into the playoff. We're going to be doing this every year, no matter how many teams are in it. And I thought the lesser amount of teams was a better way to go. It seems like we're probably going to expand even more. And my overarching, I guess, big take about college football as far as all these conference stuff goes is I think it's just going to get to a point where the SEC and the Big Ten are just kind of their own thing. They'll just be super leagues, and who knows, maybe they even split from the NCAA as a whole. But if it keeps trending the way it is right now, that's just what seems like is going to happen. We're just going to see another split among levels in college football.
Oh, and if you want to fix the bowl games, I've got the solution. I think Josh Pate actually came up with this idea. Move them to the first of the year. Make that everybody's week 0 game based on your results the last year. The Pop-Tarts Bowl is August the 31st. It's not December the 27th with opt-outs, August 3rd. And Jeb, that was my whole thing. Let them go. Because what you're talking about, Landon, is definitely coming, 100% without a doubt. They're going to break away and become, what did I call it today? The Super Friends League of American football.
Yeah, I've had this thought for a long time. I mean, I know it's coming up for a while, and obviously I haven't had the platform to say it on the record, but 5-6 years ago,
Yeah,
I could. It didn't seem crazy to me.
Right, we can see it. We're not going to be surprised when the day comes where the SEC, the Big Ten, I think the number will be around 32. I think that'll be the rough number.
It's the NFL.
Yeah, and then you just leave the rest of us alone. No lawsuits. I don't want anybody suing anybody. Just let them go. Let them make their money.
Well, it should work exactly. And I don't look. It should work exactly like soccer. Okay, in England. Okay, that's your Premier League. Fine. No. Listen, hear me out here. Shit, just hear me out. and that's the Premier League, and that's fine. And the rest of us play now. When one of those quote unquote super schools, I mean, you should be able to have the right to play well enough to play your way in. Why not?
It'll never happen because there's too much
I'm telling you though, that would be you want people not opting out? If those guys have got to play in the bowl to keep from getting relegated down, their ass will be on the field.
No, they won't, because they will do what they do now, and they will go, well, I don't want to be here anymore, and I'm going to go over to this other super friend school. I think that ship has sailed. I love the idea. I've always thought relegation and promotion was a great system. But, I mean, can you imagine Texas, and I'm just picking on them randomly. Can you imagine Texas being relegated?
Yeah, but
to the
it's
Pac-12?
Never going to be. But John, it's never going to be Texas or it's not like Arsenal and Man U are getting relegated. That's not who's getting relegated. It's the lower tier, right? It's so because here's the reality. There's about 24 schools, and then those last 10. There's a whole bunch of schools we can pick from. And so and hey, I hate to tell our friends in Oxford, you ain't going to be one of those 32.
Disagree.
So
I think it's going to be the totality, and here's why I've come up. I think actually it's 48. I think it's going to be the totality of the Big Ten and the SEC, and that gets you what, 36? Is that right? 35.
Well, yeah, 36 combined if you took all the teams.
And then
because the Big Ten has 20 and the SEC has 16.
That's right. So then you need 12 more, and you're going to get those from the ACC and the Big 12, and who knows, maybe a Memphis, Boise State, somebody goes up. But I just think this is not sustainable. Is my point. All the way around.
Nothing right now is sustainable with the money being thrown around at these super schools, and that's a whole nother gripe of mine. I mean, with all this advancement, if you brought up the portal being a problem with the relegation thing. I think if you're going to go to a system like that, then we got to have this portal NIL thing figured out. And I want to say this too. I don't think NIL is a bad idea. I just think it's gone horribly wrong. It has not gone how they thought it was going to go.
Well, we don't have any guardrails.
No,
that's the yeah.
Wait, no, Landon, you're wrong. We knew where more or less where it was going to go. What we didn't know was that nobody was going to do anything about it.
That's fair. That's how I meant to word it. There you go.
We knew where eventually it would go. The question was, okay, yeah, they're going to do something about it. No, they didn't do anything about it. Like,
guys,
seriously?
I hear everybody talking about NIL. We've had NIL for 40 years.
Correct.
It's legal now.
Back door to the front door. I agree.
I mean, I guess the amount of money has changed, and the people that are getting the money has somewhat grown. But
my idea of legal NIL back when it first started was like, okay, the first year was 2021. Bryce Young won the Heisman that year. The idea of NIL was Nike seeing Bryce Young and saying, hey, Bryce, you're really good and you're cool. You're marketable. Let's get you in a commercial and we'll give you X amount of dollars. And that's, should be the extent of it. And as John or Larry said, there just aren't any guardrails and it's gone beyond that and it shouldn't.
Well, it became, you had the collectives. That's what ruined.
That's the problem. That ruined it. Yeah. That's the problem.
Because the other thing NIL was supposed to be is that I find, and I'm just speaking as a business owner, the most popular baseball and softball player, and I pay them X number of dollars to do a Instagram post for me. That was the point of NIL.
Exactly.
Do something and get paid for something, not pay for play, which is exactly what we have today. That is going to be a show we're going to get into this summer. I'm going to get a sports business expert, and I want to hash all this out, in a very, very public way, because I'm frustrated as someone who takes a lot of shots, because I've always said that I'm in favor of players making as much money as they can. My big rule number one is secure the bag, and rule number two, see rule number one. I'm in favor of free player movement. I'm in favor of coaches getting paid and moving. I just think that the field's got to be balanced, right?
Well, but you got to have contracts, guys. Without contracts, if you want to take the money, that's fine. Like, they should take as much money as they can and get paid. But without a contract that says you have to do XYZ to get XYZ, that's where we're running off the rails, because there's nothing making someone do anything to get the money, right? Other than if they don't show up, they don't get a paycheck. But here's the thing. You shouldn't be able to tell school A, I'm going to play for you, and not have a term that you have to play. That's the trick. If school A pays you to play football, you shouldn't be able to opt out of anything as long as that team is playing.
Well, but the flip side of that is school B is going to pay whatever buyout there is, just like they do with coaches. Yeah, I mean,
but that's fine. But that's fine. That's fine. If school B wants to put that money in for that player, then that's fine. They can do that, but that's going to cost them money. And that's fine. Like, hey, look, it's your money. It's our money now.
Landon just wishes he was a better quarterback right now, because he wouldn't.
I do.
I
do.
These two old guys right here. All right, so we're really going to get out of here this time, but stick around. We're gonna have some great stuff this summer, in spring, winter, whatever season it is. Holy crap! But to all of our listeners out there,
yes,
we've already celebrated Hanukkah. Happy Hanukkah. Happy holidays to the rest of you, whether it be Kwanzaa, Christmas, whatever you celebrate. We are also eternally grateful for all of you that have taken time out of your life to hang out with us crazy old guys and talk Tiger football. So
16 years coming up.
That's crazy. So for the best co-host in all the land, Brian Moss and Larry Marley, thanks again. A special thanks to Landon Speck for joining us all season and filling what's Charles Huff's things for closing the gap here on Tigers Tonight.
Hi, guys.
This is John
Merry
Maddox
Christmas.
saying stay tuned, and we will see everybody again soon.
Podemos ir a dar. Será que él decide primero